This past week, some pretty important games ended.
The games you're playing with my heart,
And
which I've said quit doing.
playing games with your heart?
My heart.
I don't know the next words.
You should have known from the start.
Okay, we're talking about the Olympics. The Olympic Games just ended, and I know...
Oh, I was going to sing the song, but probably shouldn't.
Nah.
Those fuckers are ruthless.
Ruthless.
When it comes
I mean, they're worse than the mouse.
Yeah.
But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about some other games. Arguably...
I don't even want to say the name because we'll get this episode taken down.
Right. Disney doesn't even want to go after it. That's why...
Yeah.
That's why during the Mighty Ducks 2, they had just like the Summer Children's United Worldwide Games of some kind.
They couldn't do it.
Couldn't even do it. I want to talk about the Hunger Games.
Okay. Did you read the books?
And watch the movies.
Oh, you did both. I think I did. I don't know if I saw all of the movies.
I don't need to necessarily break down the books, right?
If you don't know about the Hunger Games by now, we're going to put you in them.
Yeah, good luck.
May the odds
Let's
forever be in your favor.
Let's talk briefly about children.
All right. It's not where I imagined we would start, but here we are. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
We're waiting.
Okay.
FBI, hey, how's it going?
The way the Hunger Games starts, for those unfamiliar, is you have two people from each district, 24, 17 to 11
You just said
year
we
olds.
didn't need to explain it.
No, I have to, not the whole book. I'm just going to explain this. Focus here,
All right.
Scott.
All right.
So you have 24 people. They're all rising up out of the ground. You
Zombies.
plus 23. Let's say you're at like 16, 17. You're at...
Wait a minute. 23andMe? Future sponsor of the podcast.
Also probably children.
Are your parents really your parents? 23andMe.
Oh my God, editing the beginning of this show is going to be the worst. Okay, so you're on your way up. You need to tell me right now. I already have a thought in my mind on how I'm going to do this, but you need to tell me right now, how do you put yourself at the biggest advantage from the moment that buzzer goes off to the cornucopia, which is like they do the countdown, like the 20 on down, and then the moment the timer goes to 0, a mad dash to the cornucopia. It's a big thing in the center with a bunch of gear and things that people need, and then you bolt, and then you have to be the first to survive. I am not looking for how you win the Hunger Games. I am looking for your biggest advantage from 0 to past the cornucopia. How do you stay alive? Because the vast majority of people die.
I forget. Does it happen battle royale style, video game battle royale style? Does the wall close in? Is there a storm on the edge pushing you towards the center eventually?
No.
You just have to either hunt or be hunted.
Correct.
And then the last person standing wins what?
Their life.
Forever. They don't have to participate in the games ever again, right?
Unless you read the books.
Unless you can or want to.
Well, unless you read the books.
Oh, there was some loopholes in the books.
Either way, everybody's put in...
You want to know my strat for staying alive?
I want to know your strat for staying alive just at the beginning. That first minute. Now remember, you can't jump early because surrounding your platform are mines.
And they turn off the mines as soon as you jump in. Okay, well, man, I'm really, really interested in staying alive, probably for a little bit. But if I'm in this situation and I'm being honest, I think the first thing I do as soon as the mines are deactivated is I snap my own neck.
Let me give you my strategy. So you're allowed to take in one personal item as long as it can't be conceivably used as a weapon. So you can't take in like a maul or a bow, but you can take in a pin, you can take in a bracelet.
Everything can be used as a weapon, Willy. We know this.
Well, here's a loophole. So people have said that somebody brought in a gold necklace that was their mother's. Mm-hmm. The gold necklace fell off their neck, hit the ground in front, and had one of the mines explode, killing them dead instantly. That's how pressure sensitive these are. Now, to go a little bit further into these mines, Scott.
Okay. You're crafting these mines. All right.
Yeah. So the mines, it doesn't trigger multiples. It just triggers the one that it hits. It's like motion or pressure sensitive, and it's like hairpin trigger on this thing. Mm-hmm. Well, so what I do is I bring in a beaded necklace, and as the tube is going up and while the cameras are out of sight of me, I take the necklace and I break it. And in my hand, I start pooling the beads, okay?
Okay.
Cautiously, safely, they're here. They're ready. The moment I come up, I'm fucking tossing beads to the strongest one, District 1, then District 2, and I'm killing them all. Because they can't fucking jump off their platform. They can't get me. I've got the advantage. I've got 60-second fucking timer, and I'm just fucking tossing beads, and they're dying. And then you know what I'm left with at the end when the timer goes down? Little children. Like Hayden Christensen. I'm a 16-year-old, just like donking little 11-year-olds, just with, I don't know.
They were younger. They were so much younger. Those younglings were like 5 and 6. We have 10 minutes of you talking about kids of a 30-minute episode.
I'm gonna mute it the whole time. Scott, you seem to know a lot about movies.
I used to be really into them, yeah.
Maybe a little too much sometimes.
I never starred in one. As much as I would have liked to, okay. I just couldn't find a co-star willing or hot enough.
I'll do it.
I said
okay.
Hot enough.
Well, that makes me feel bad. Speaking of feeling bad.
I meant it.
Oh. Speaking of feeling bad.
Just kidding. I love you.
Okay.
For your brain. I want to make that clear.
Jeez, this is getting worse. Speaking of the worst, let's talk about the worst pieces of dialogue that you've ever heard in a movie.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Mm-hmm. I'm not as clever as you. I am not the master of puns, but I have a list in front of me of some.
You're a great baiter. I mean,
right hand champ. Can you tell me? I'm going to feed you one for fun here as we get started.
Feed me, Seymour.
But before we do that, I want you to think about the worst movie lines you can recall. The things that just make you go, oh, why would they put that in there? So I'm going to read you 2 here. Have you ever seen 50 Shades of Grey? Because I haven't.
Nope. Haven't read the book.
Well, here on the subreddit movies, this person says, I'm going to say this every time. From 50 Shades of Grey, I don't make love. I fuck hard.
Damn it. That's aggressive.
That is aggressive.
Wow.
Maybe something a little bit closer to home here. This is...
Oh, no. That was accurate.
Oh, got it.
I mean, that's in my wheelhouse.
I'm uncomfortable because not only are we in a basement, but I'm in your basement.
Remember, you're safe.
This is Anakin Skywalker talking to Padme.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say most of the lines from this movie.
Yeah. Is it just Hayden Christensen? I don't think so. Let's give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. Not much, but a little. Here it says, Anakin Skywalker, you are so beautiful. Padme, it's only because I'm so in love. Out of context, without the movie, it gets even worse because
did
it's
George
me
Lucas
have
have kids? Like, did he procreate?
Mm-hmm. He did.
Damn.
Yeah. Anakin Skywalker says, no, it's because I'm so in love with you.
Should we? Okay, can you send me that link?
Yeah.
Let's reenact this.
Okay.
The way it was done in the movie for our listeners, because it's probably been a minute since you've seen any of the prequels. For this scene,
yeah,
Willy and I are going to try and do it better.
Willy and Scott, try to do it.
But better. All right, you want to be Anakin or Padme?
Are you ready to go, buddy? I believe in you. You get to be the top.
Naturally.
Is that how that works? I don't know how that works. I never figured that out.
I think it's whoever wants to, but let's... All right. And scene. You are so beautiful.
It's only because I'm so in love.
No, it's because I'm so in love with you.
So love has blinded you?
Well, that's not exactly what I meant.
But it's probably true. And scene.
Welcome to the front podcast of the internet. Was that intro awkward enough for anyone else? Because
depending on which one you got,
yep.
They're both uncomfortable.
I feel like I need a hug. But how the heck are you, Willy? It's been exactly 1 week since we last recorded our podcast, and nobody can prove otherwise.
I am doing well, still in my car with no air conditioner. Loving the Minnesota heat that we have, especially the week that we had where it was as smoky as if you were in Oregon.
Actually, I have no way to confirm this, but I've heard from people that Oregon was not smoky because it sailed down through other states and ended up in Minnesota.
I just meant weed, you weirdo.
Yeah, there was a lot of that there.
Before we get into our stories for the week, though, Scott, let's give the listeners a little bit of an update on where they can follow us.
You can follow us on our Twitter.
Sub4 that.
You can follow us on our TikTok.
At Sub for That Podcast.
You can email us at
subforthatpodcast@gmail.com.
And finally, we have an Instagram.
At Sub for That.
Just kidding. Finally, again, we have a TikTok.
You already said that one.
Ah, dang it.
I think Scott is mad at me for last week.
Yeah,
switching them up on you a little bit there.
You son of a bitch.
But if you do like the show, follow us, tell a friend.
And if you're so inclined, please give us a review or rating on whatever instrument you use to listen to us.
Now, we're a few weeks into the subreddit Fantasy League. Now, we're
halfway.
Just past the halfway mark.
Tonight will be another scoring, but we're halfway through, and the current standings, if you will, are as follows.
Yeah, we're all so excited about this.
In 6th place currently is Nick. In 5th place is Ben. In 4th place is Jason. 3rd place is my co-host Willy.
I'm in the top half.
2nd place is Tony Montana. And currently in 1st place, I don't even think we need to say it, because...
Go to hell. Go to hell and you die. Scott here, who loves fantasy sports and is genuinely good at those things, is coming out at the top. So when we get to the winter games, well, we've got a double prize pool. We got $200 coming someone's way.
Right, but we still have half of the league left to go, so we'll see what happens. We've gone through all of the big subs, I feel. I don't think there's too many left, especially with the way we have our scoring system set up, so things might swing wildly.
4 weeks.
4 weeks can...
It's not a huge point lead between you and the next person.
You're right. I could lose. I could very easily lose, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the second half will bring.
So, Scott, to get the week started, do you remember when you were a kid, growing up, you'd go knock on a friend's door and say, hey, can you come out and play?
Yes.
Do you remember? I remember those moments very fondly.
There was a little pause in there because I honestly couldn't do that until 6th grade.
Okay, that's fair. But still, 6th grade, there's plenty to do, right? Get on your bike, you bike over, or were you getting a car ride over to your friend's house?
I didn't live near any of my friends walking or biking distance until 6th grade. So it was lonely.
Well, this story might make you feel better. It might give you some hope for humanity. The very top post of this past week was from the subreddit Made Me Smile. And it's this guy. He writes, I live in an apartment complex that has a bunch of little kids.
I don't like where this is going.
During the original lockdown, I would go outside and walk around and get out. And one day, one of the kids launched a soccer ball my direction. And without thinking, I headed the ball back to them. And they said something like, whoa, do it again, do it again. And I was hesitant at first because I'm a bald 31-year-old with a large beard, Scott, playing with a bunch of little kids. I told them, I'm not sure if your parents would want you playing with a stranger, but you guys have fun.
I mean, that's the smart, responsible thing to do.
Right.
Good on this person.
Well, the story goes on, and it says, I didn't realize their mom was sitting inside with the window open, watching them, and I hear her yell, please kick the ball around with them if you want to. I know you live across the hall, and I see you all the time. I proceeded to play soccer with them for about 2 hours and had a blast.
That's awesome.
This isn't where the story ends.
Oh, it's still going.
Yeah. Now, every Friday, without fail, a group of kids knocks on my door at 6 p.m. because they know I'm off work and want me to play some kind of game with them. We played freeze tag last Friday, and it was dope. I cheated and climbed a tree so they couldn't get me. Makes me feel like a kid again, and it truly is a highlight of my week. The mom has also brought me fresh homemade tamales at least every 2 weeks and refuses to let me pay for them.
That's so cool.
So if you could go back to a childhood like this, out and about playing around with kids, would you do it?
So what's the angle here? Because are you asking, would I randomly play with adult strangers because nobody else, or we're just trying to invite people into the group? Or are you trying to ask if I would relive my childhood?
As an adult,
yeah.
Is this would you enjoy doing something like this?
Well, I think you and I both like playing games, so Yeah, I mean, it was my dream to be a baseball player, like a major league baseball player where I got to play a game and then got paid for it. I still want to do that. So yeah, totally would. The one side of this is there's always that stigma as an adult of you interacting with somebody's children that are not your own, because we've been conditioned to think like, all right, got to protect your kids, no matter what the cost, and anybody could potentially be a threat. But on the other hand, there's genuine good people in the world who all they want to do is be nice, bring joy, be friendly, be kind, the things we should be doing, and to anybody, no matter what your age.
I look at something like this, and while right now I'm very much an introvert, I do miss growing up around a ton of kids, being able to go out and play all the classic games that kids played. I think as adults, we start to forget the games we had to make up to find joy in our childhood.
Oh, yeah.
So
our imagination?
Yeah. We played one called Are You Afraid of the Dark? Have you heard of this game?
Maybe.
Okay, so here's the point. We had a ton of kids, so we would get like 10 of them together. We would go to one side of a block. So there was a bunch of kids. We all lived on the same block. We'd go to one house on one of the ends usually. So I was on one corner. Another friend was close to the other end.
Okay.
That front set of stairs, that was home base. That was safe.
Okay.
Then you picked somebody to be it. And that person was like the bad person. Everybody else, you had 1 minute to sprawl the entire block, street to street, the whole thing, everybody's backyard, nothing is off limits, just not inside of a house or a garage.
You played night hide and go seek?
So you have to wait until it gets dark.
Oh.
It has to be dark to do this. And then the goal is that one person has to go out and catch people. And if they touch you, you're part of his team, right? It's like zombies in video games now. But the goal is to be the last person to touch the stairs. Because if you're on the stairs, you're safe.
Right.
And the last person gets to be it the next round.
That seems like a cool game.
It was a cool game.
Wish I could have played that with my friends, but I didn't have any. Until 6th grade. And by that time, I was a mischievous asshole.
This makes me feel really bad for Scott's upbringing. I don't know if I necessarily want to share all the other fun games that we played.
There's only 30 minutes in the show, so just lay them on me. Just tell me how much fun you had.
A lot of us played sports, so I think maybe one of my favorite ones to play was Smear the
Oh.
Wait a minute.
So
how was that a thing? Did you ever hear of that game?
Yes, I played it all the time.
Makes me so uncomfortable that we played that.
And nobody thought anything of it.
Nope.
Because back then it was the merging. It was the crossing over of what that word meant. For us children who had no idea what the context was, it was the person who is tagged, or the person who is strange and different than us. And then what it really meant, from adults who somehow passed it along down the line to teenagers to the young kids that are playing that game. Yeah, that's an awful thing.
Awful thing.
That was a legit game that nobody hopefully plays anymore. It started
At least not in the North.
It started out as Red Rover. Oh, God. We don't have too many listeners in the South, but I hope they stop playing that by now. So, as I was saying, speaking of things that probably should be censored, this week in r/funny, the post is 1935 versus 2021. On the left side, it's a split photo. You can see everybody's dressed very nice, in suits and ties, reading the paper, and sitting on an airplane. On the right-hand side, Willie, what does it say on this dude's hat?
I'm just,
Would you wear a hat like that?
Would I today?
I'll buy you that hat, and you can wear it on the show.
Yeah, I know you'd buy me that hat. It's a photo of a man. It's a white man wearing his hat, backwards. That says, "Show me that butthole."
Sadly, this is not the first time I've seen this hat. On popular media, yeah. Not anything that's like, it was somebody interviewing a bunch of young kids at a NASCAR event, and they were wearing
this hat sense.
And screaming this phrase, because apparently that's the thing now. Kids are just into that ass.
It's a really odd trend being on TikTok all the time, I start to learn a little bit of the trends that come up. Scott has seen my For You page, and we're not going to talk about it here,
You can just
Scott.
say you're addicted. It's fine. I understand.
But there's so many people, there's so many young adults right now that just want to talk about eating ass. And I frankly, I don't understand.
We're going to go back to childhood, right?
Why? We're talking about eating ass and you're going to childhood? We're canceling this whole show. It's been a nice run. Thank you guys for trying. I appreciated it.
This was a podcast that
we
we tried. We made it to 61 episodes, and then we
couldn't even make it to 69.
Okay, seriously though, think back to your childhood, and this is gonna be one of those questions where I think I can answer it as honestly as you will.
Okay.
When's the first time you saw porn?
Fuzzy elbows, man.
But can you remember what age? What grade? Was it before high school?
Yes.
Was it before middle school? Which
Questionable.
for 7th grade would have been before 7th grade.
Okay, so our school district was broken up in 4s. K through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12.
That's why you were left behind, because that makes no sense.
That's fairly normal.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was 1 through 6, 7 through 9, and
No, they thought 5th and
11,
6th graders were too old for the K through. I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. But no, they break it up in the 3 groups now.
Okay, maybe it is a good thing. I don't know. I'm not a teacher. Anyway, did you see it in grades 1 through 4? Were you exposed to it in any way, shape, or form? And I'm sorry if this is, outing
No.
family members.
I don't have any really great stories for this because that's a nuanced question. Had I seen nudity in film or print form before that age, without knowing the context, without seeking it out, without...
and I'm not talking about boob and Weird Science, any of those movies from the 80s. I'm talking about like a Playboy or something like a Penthouse or a Hustler.
I was absolutely in middle school.
Yeah.
In the grades between 5th and 8th when I saw my first magazine.
Okay.
And then fuzzy elbows were seen. And then if you stayed up late enough, I had cable at home, so you could flip to the right channels and you'd see some stuff.
For me, it was 6th grade.
Okay.
6th grade. And
real coming of age story for you there, Scott, huh?
To coin a phrase. But, pun not intended, we were exposed super young, because you're 12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This dude, how old do you think he is? I mean, judging from the back of his head, he could be our age. But
he's definitely the millennial to Gen X age.
Yeah, he could be younger. What if this dude is a child of somebody who's our age?
He's got a beard.
Yeah, high schoolers have beards. I'm just saying, like, that exposure for us, like that renaissance or that taking off of freedom of expression, exposed a lot of people at a young age and just led them to either be completely uncomfortable with it or something that they just know is a part of the lifestyle, and therefore led to this dude sitting on a plane wearing a backwards hat thinking that it's okay to expose the rest of the world to his thoughts on covering up or not the human anatomy.
I think you were right there with something you said earlier when we were talking about those games you played when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That was taught from parents to their firstborn kids, and then the older kids taught the younger kids. It ends up in the playgrounds, right?
Yeah.
Something like this is probably more a passed down thing, and because it was more accessible to us via cable TV, magazines were probably just as prolific, if not more, for people older than us.
Right.
But we also then had the heyday of the internet, the early days of the internet, where everything was accessible all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say everything, I mean like
everything.
The worst, literally the worst things you could possibly see.
Remember that thing about imagination we were talking about?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that made it into this cut, but imagination.
Uh-huh.
Everything.
I think that our generation has kind of taught that down to years below us to say, like, here's where you go find this. Here's what this looks like. We've refined the search for things to essentially break it off into very well-known sites with very well-known musical themes
TikTok.
that now you could be very much a child and be exposed to this. And I don't know if that's a good thing.
Maybe we should do that thing where we try and flip it around, reverse it, and make it a good thing. Make it a positive thing. Like, if I was a proctologist, I would advertise with this slogan.
Well, I mean, this brings up another story. I'm assuming that not all of our listeners watch John Oliver and probably don't watch his web clips.
I haven't watched John Oliver since I think his last season.
Okay. He covered this really interesting story of this Danish television show that wants to normalize the human anatomy. And they don't do it in a way where they shy away from talking about the penis and the vagina on bodies. They normalize it.
Yeah.
So there's a Danish television show where the superhero of this cartoon is a man with a very long penis that can like fly like a helicopter blade.
Jeez.
Can rescue somebody out of a river.
If only.
When pushed by American media, they said, this isn't a problem in our country. You are the problem. But for us, this is not an issue.
We flash our big long protrusions here all the time in American media too. It's a big gun. That's the main difference, because I guarantee in Denmark they don't have hyperviolence on their shows like we do.
So what you're telling me, Scott, is that we got the villain wrong.
Yeah. Everybody knows that P's and V's are a good time for the most part.
Well, this week in white people Twitter, I want to talk about the P's and the Freeze.
Oh.
There's a post that says Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze were right. This is an image, and it has an image of Arnold Schwarzenegger with, who played Poison Ivy?
Uma Thurman.
Those two in their outfits from that early Batman film. And next to them is an image of George Clooney as Batman.
Oh, I know what he looks
nipples.
Like. Yeah, with bat nipples. Yep.
And here it says, he was trying to cool the planet, and she was regrowing the forest. And they wanted us to root for and trust the billionaire.
Damn. Isn't it crazy how when we look back in time, everything's wrong? we learn and we grow, but I remember liking that movie. Actually, this brings up a really good point, because the more you study the story of Batman, you realize just like how messed up all of those comics are.
Oh, yeah.
Why was his family killed? They were murdered in an alley, right?
Yeah.
But they're one of the richest families in this city. Bruce Wayne becomes enough of a billionaire to fund all of his Dark Knight activities. We never get the story of how much he's putting back into the community to try and solve everything. Like, crime finds a way.
Maybe there's another nefarious version to Batman, that as the corporate billionaire, he needs to fund his childhood traumas.
Bruce Wayne never goes to therapy. He works it out by, let's be honest, he's murked a few people.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
If you've seen what's the new Batman?
Suicide Squad.
We're going to talk about that here in a second. What's the new Batman? Robert Pattinson.
Batman. The Batman.
Well, if you see him, no, it was Ben Affleck's Batman, throw the dude into the ground. Like, he has some pent up anger.
Right. He's got some issues he needs to work through.
I don't want to dwell on Batman too much when I think about this, because I actually think that I want to talk about Suicide Squad. But if you think through all of the different Batmans we've seen since
Adam West.
Since Adam West. Well, no, our generation of Batman. So
I'm old, Willy. Adam West was my generation.
Oh, God, Scott. All right, well, just skip Adam West and let's go to the movies. Skip the TV show, go to the movies. So you have that Batman.
Michael Keaton.
All the way through to Robert Pattinson, which we don't know anything about, so we'll stop at Ben Affleck.
He still seems pretty violent and angry in that trailer.
Yeah. I think the most well-intentioned version of Batman we've seen is Christian Bale.
He used his Lamborghini to drive straight into a bus to save somebody's life.
Well, he plays up the character of a billionaire as a facade. That is his character. Who he is somebody who's kind-hearted and wants to solve problems. he also wants to do it in a way where he's not murdering people.
You're right. He was a less violent Batman, comparatively speaking. Still, we all think Batman could probably do better. Do better, Batman. Be best.
Which is a good place to say that, yes, the new Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, came out this past week. We have both had the opportunity to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, hot take, 30 seconds or less.
Better than the first one. Still not on the MCU level. You have to know something about the characters for it to make sense.
I think it's a dumpster of a movie that is enjoyable to be with. Do you think that this film had any redeeming qualities for DC in a way that made you say, yeah, I am more excited about what they're going to put out versus the MCU? Like, did it bring that needle closer? Or do you think that, the relationship here is not even remotely close?
You know those things that they put behind restaurants that they throw all their trash in? What's that called?
Dumpster.
And then if you pour a bunch of gasoline in it and throw a match in it?
Fire. Dumpster fire.
Yeah, no, that is still the DC universe when it comes to films. This, despite its redeeming qualities, was only because they brought somebody over who was involved in the MCU and is a decent filmmaker, knowing everything that they know, how to bring a team together, bring characters together, and set forth potentially the next film and the film after that. Somebody who understands the definition of continuity. And they put it into this one film with no indication that they're building it out past this. This could be the last Suicide Squad movie we ever see, and that
Probably
would be
should
fine.
be.
Probably, yeah, it definitely should be.
So just extending on your analogy here. So there's a Denny's. Behind the Denny's is a trash can, a giant dumpster, and it is on fire. In there, you've got whatever the Fantastic Beasts are. You've got the disaster of Johnny Depp. Apologies, I think that's neither here nor there. You've got all of the DC films. They're all just on fire in this dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a worker across the street at fucking Disney World that goes, that's weird. Walks across the street, closes one of the lids and goes, that should help. And then walks back. That's what we saw.
Yeah. That's a really good... yeah, I like that. It took me a while to follow along, but I like that. But speaking of things that were lit on fire and then were recently extinguished, we've kind of mentioned it a couple times before today. But as of now, the Olympic Games have both started and ended. And this week, in r/damn, that's interesting, there is a video here of something called the Corbett Flip by Olga Korbut in Munich 1972 Olympics. We're going to put this video up, and we're going to just be in awe of what this human being is just showing the world that they can do. Now, let's watch it here. It's 30 seconds. And Willy, you described to me how this person is not a ninja. Because if you were to tell me that, I wouldn't believe you.
All right, so it starts with a woman on the uneven bars, flips from one to the next. Now she's on the tall one. She stands, she does a flip, and then what the fuck just happened? Okay, well, she's still going.
Oh, yeah, she's not done.
She just keeps, okay, how... I have a hernia thinking about her actions right now. I'm going to have to describe this when this video is done. Oh, my goodness. Okay. All right, reaction. Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus. Okay. That was a live reaction. I genuinely haven't seen that video.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing that I maybe potentially and definitely overreacted to was she starts on the lower of the two uneven bars. And if you're unfamiliar, there's one that's pretty low. It's pretty much like 6 feet tall, and then there's another one that's probably like 8 or 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
And you just flip between the two. So she gets to a point where she is standing on the top one, standing on the bar. She then hurls herself midair, flipping backwards, and just by the tips of her fingers grabs the top of the uneven bar. And as she grabs it, she then rotates her body and flips, grabbing the lower of the two bars at her midsection, doing another flip, and then getting back onto her hands, and then does a series of things that one could only say should be done by a professional audience or by a professional crew, or nowadays, if you're a filmmaker, is going to be done solely in CG.
Yeah. This person was amazing. And like, she's known throughout Olympic history to this day. But according to the comments, the moves that she did were considered dangerous. Sound like somebody else, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So they actually banned several of the moves that you just saw because they are considered too dangerous to other humans.
What?
I'm imagining it's the part where she flies backwards and grabs the bar with both her hands without even looking. Like she just levitates backwards from the little bar to the big bar. Or the part where she flips around, like you said, just uses her midsection and looks like a human foosball table.
Where, I mean, arguably they probably got rid of all of the things that would have cut her body in half.
But the United States ended up winning the most gold medals, the most overall medals. There was a lot of really cool events that happened where I think India won its first gold medal. So congratulations.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh.
The first ever gold medal.
There's a few countries that did that this year. There was the woman who did the deadlifts in weightlifting.
Oh, yeah. From I think it was the Philippines.
The Philippines.
There was a really cool moment where two people won the high jump or the pole vault.
It was high jump. It was high jump.
It was the high jump. And they were both tied at the very end. And so like the official came over and said, technically you can have a jump off.
They said, we need to move to a jump off because you're both tied. One of them was ecstatic to just be there. And then the other one pauses and says, can we share it? The other guy is like dumbfounded by what was just said.
Yeah.
And they go, we think that might be able to happen. And then they both lose it. They both start hugging each other. Like, what a great moment of sportsmanship.
Yeah. That's what the Olympics is all about. And that's what it's always been for someone like me. To win the gold is great and winning and everything. But I think like this is where I've always kind of imagined the world would come together and work out its differences. Use those 5 rings united as a symbol of hope and perseverance of all political things, anything that divides us. We can come together and show off these superhuman skills and worship them as the gods that they are. And we are lesser humans and we don't deserve to be doing anything other than serving these masters who are clearly better than us in every single way.
Every way.
And I, for one, welcome our new Olympic gold, silver, and bronze medal overlords.
Well, I think it's kind of serendipitous then, because at the end of the day, maybe what we're a little bit too well known for is not praising the youth that come after us for all of the amazing things that they've done. And in this case, all of these amazing young children down to like 15 years old, right? Was that the youngest?
For Olympians?
For Olympians?
Oh, probably.
There was a kid from Japan, I believe, who was 15.
Oh,
and
yeah.
won like a diving competition. It was crazy.
Wow.
Versus a woman who has been in every Olympics since the 90s, ending her career, the 80s.
Yeah,
She's like 47 years old.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
That's
a great story.
This event spans generations. So I'm excited for
20.
Because we skipped one more year. It's always on the twos.
Yeah, it is.
It's on even numbers.
Yep.
We are 1 year away from
Beijing.
We already had Beijing.
The other place in China. It's in China, I think.
Okay, we're a year away from the 2022 Winter Olympics back in Beijing. They're just repurposing that Olympic town.
They've got a lot of room. They've got a lot of room to grow when it comes to games and human rights issues.
Oh, what a weird way to end it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the podcast.
Like we said at the beginning, we're all over the internet. We're on Insta, Twitter, TikTok, email.
That's about it.
And that's about it. Yeah.
Just consume the episode the way that you want. We appreciate you guys listening to us.
Yeah, thank you. We love you.
And remember, no matter what you're into,
whether it's tucked in kitties,
boss fight,
GTA glitches,
or awful taste but great execution, also known as ATBGE.
Oh, that's what that stands for. Okay.
Fucking idiot.
There's
There's
a sub for that.
Oh, it made me sweaty. Come smell my nuts.